This is Tim Lenhard from the Woodlands Jazz, and in this section I'm going to talk about why the 5-to-1 chord progression is so common and why our ears want that resolution to happen. So first let's take a look at the diatonic scale, C major. So we're going to talk about building seventh chords over this scale, and so all we're really doing is just stacking a root, third, fifth, and seventh over top of each one of these chord degrees. And here's what we get. We get one major chord, two minor 7 chord, three minor 7 chord, a 4 major 7 chord, a 5 dominant 7 chord, 6 minor 7 chord, and a 7 half diminished 7 chord. So those sound like this. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to our friendly 1 chord. Great. So now let's isolate the 5-7 chord and the 1-7 chord. So we have a G dominant 7 and a C major 7. Cool. So what's important now is to look at what chord tones indicate the chord quality of these chords. So why do our ears tell us that this is a very specific type of chord? In the case of the G, why is this a dominant 7? And in the case of the C, why is this a C major 7? So let's just try to isolate particular tones from these chords. So let's look at the root and the fifth. Why are these not the chord tones that tell us the quality of the chord? So for our G7 chord, it's G and D. And C chord, it's C and G. Cool. So ultimately, these leave a lot to chance or mystery. We don't understand what the chord quality is because it could be any type of chord. We could have a minor 7 chord. We could have a major 7 chord. We could even have a minor major 7 chord. It could go on and on and on. The root and the fifth let us know that there's a key center. In the case of the G7, it's the G. In the case of the C, it's a C. But it doesn't tell us what quality it is. So we have to then look at the third and the seventh scale chord tones as the ones that really tell us what the chord quality here is going to be. And so for G, it's the B and the F. And for the C major 7, it's the E and the B. And this is where we really get into why 5 wants to go to 1. We look at the interval between the third and the seventh on the G dominant 7 chord. So between B and F, that's an interval of a tritone. It's a pretty crunchy interval that wants to resolve. And so if we're going to go from a G chord to a C chord, the way that we resolve this is we move the 7th of the G down to the 3rd of the C, so F going to E, and the 3rd of the G going to the root of the C, so it's moving up a half step. So that sounds like this. And so it's the tug of that tritone that wants to resolve in some way, and the path of least resistance is to move the third a half step up and the seventh a half step down. So ultimately we have our 5-to-1. And doesn't that feel nice? And ultimately, this interval between the third and the seventh, that tritone of the G7, is why it wants to go back to the C major 7. There is no other third and seventh that forms a tritone in all of the diatonic seventh chords. So the G7 is the only one that does that, and that's why 5 wants to go to 1. Thanks for watching, and look forward to some more videos to give you some basic theory concepts for the Woodlands Jazz. This has been Tim Lenhard. Thanks for watching.